Okay, so congratulations, you've got yourself a book and you want to share it up onto the iBooks store. So to do that, there's a fair few little things that we need to do to get it ready and a few little supporting files. So just to show you what we're going to make, I have a folder here. I've called it Catapult Mat because I have a book about a catapult. And I'm going to have a look in this folder and see what I've got. These are the files that I'm going to need to be able to put my book up onto the bookstore, and there's a few there. First of all, we'll start with this one here, the .iBooks file. This is a file that comes from iBooks author. It's not the book you've made and the saved file. We have to export it as an iBooks file, so we'll come to that. We also have the same book exported as a PDF. Then we also have 3 images, a cover, sample 1, and sample 2. You can even have a couple more samples than that if you wish. I've only got 2 here. Each of these files have a set dimensions that they need to be. So the cover has its own dimensions, and then sample 1 and sample 2 have their own dimensions, and again we'll come to that. And then finally a short blurb, just a few lines to tell us a little bit about your book and get the reader hooked and engaged. So let's get into it. Let's get these files made. So to do that, I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to make a new folder, and on my desktop is just fine, and I'm going to call it my iBook. My iBook. I'd be inclined to think that you might put your name, the name of your book in there, but just because this is a demonstration, I'll just call it my iBook, and I'll even open it up. So here's my book. I'm going to use my catapults one that I just showed before. So here it is here. Bring it up. Here's my book. It's got a front heading, a cover page, and then I've got a few different pages running through it. So it's a book that I would use with my students. So what I need to do, I need to export these books first. So we're going to go File, Export. And by the way, I've had to make sure that my book is 100% right. I can come and change it later, but if I do, I'm going to have to re-upload and make new screenshots and everything. So best to make sure it's 150% ready to go. So as I said, File, Export. And in here, I'm going to make the iBooks selection. Now underneath, you'll notice that there is an iBooks store option, and you can, if you have your own accounts, upload to your own iBooks shelf if you wish, but because we're doing this as a school, they're going to be uploaded on behalf of you by the school. So we're just going to select iBooks, click Next, and I'm going to find my folder, and I know it was on my desktop and it was called My iBook, and I'm going to, look, I can leave my name the same, that's perfectly okay. So I'll keep with my catapult one. I'll go Export. Give it a moment, and it's done. And then I'm going to do exactly the same process again, File, Export, but this time I'm going to go to PDF, make sure my image quality is set to best, because our screenshots, the PDF is what generates the screenshots you see in the iBook store. So we need to make sure these are as best quality as we can. Now it should have remembered where we're saving it. It's in my iBook folder. I'm going to call it the same file, that's fine, and it's just the PDF. And export that, give that a moment, and we can quit that. I can actually quit iBooks Author. I'm pretty much done with that. And if I have a look in my folder, I've already got 2 files. One is my iBooks and one is my PDF. Now it's time to get some images, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So I'm going to open up the PDF, and here we can see every page written as or created as a PDF. Now I need to turn these into images, and my first one is my cover. So I'm going to select the first page, File, Export, and in here I'm going to change it from PDF to JPEG, drag the quality as high as it'll go, I'm going to change the name to Cover, and I'm going to make sure it's absolutely in my right folder. Let me check, JPEG, full quality, named Cover, and in the correct folder. I'm happy with that. I'll go Save. Now I'm going to choose 2 sample pages. This is when you go to buy a book, or even like buy an app and you see sample screenshots. This is what we're making right now. I'm going to choose this one here, and I'll choose this one here. So let me start with this one. File, same process. Export, changing this to a JPEG, sliding it all the way up, and up here I'm going to call it Sample 1. Make sure I'm in my right folder, which I am still. Save. Do it again. File, export, change it to a JPEG, maximum quality, Sample 2. Oops, there we go, Sample 2. It's in the correct folder. Always check that folder. That's always, otherwise you might just it might just disappear on you. Now, if you want to have any other screenshots, by all means you can. I think you can have up to a maximum of 5, but sometimes you don't even need 5. I'm only doing a couple. I think that will do just fine for me. All right, I'm going to close this PDF. Now it's starting to look pretty good here. We've got 5 different files. We've got our books, our book, our PDF, our cover, our sample 1 and sample 2. Now the tricky part here is that the cover has to have a certain dimensions. So we're going to open up cover, double click and open it, and it should open in preview. If it hasn't, and you've got something else installed on your computer, right click on the file, open with, and preview. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to crop out all this extra space on the side because it thinks it's a giant page. There we go. If I stretch the screen out, you'll see all this extra white on the side. I don't need it. So I've got a crosshair when I move my mouse over my screen. In my page, I've got a little crosshair, and I'm going to just click and just drag out over the top of this screenshot and let it go. Now we're not doing screenshots here because screenshots won't be as clear. We're taking them from the original PDF. So I've selected my cover. I'm going to jump up to my editing tool up here and hit crop. Now that's pretty good, but I need this to be a certain size. So I'm going to come up to tools and down to adjust size. And I want my height to be 1600. Now if your book is landscape, or your cover is landscape for some reason, but generally they're not, you want to have the longest side, and we'll set it to 1600. So I'm going to change my width to 1600. Now the problem is when I do, it also changes the height in a different way. So what I want to do, actually that's okay for today. I think we'll leave that. So I'm just going to make my width 1600 and go OK. Now it makes it a lot bigger. And that's fine, but you'll notice it's exactly how I want it. So I can quit that picture. That's done. Let's go to sample 1. This one's a little bit different. So these screenshots are obviously landscape because my book's made landscape. I'm going to adjust size, and this time I'm going to need a specific size. The width is going to be 1024, but my height has to be 768, and it's not. So I'm going to click the little padlock, which turns off the scale proportionally, and I can change this to 68. 1024 by 768, and OK it. Done. Now I need to do it for my other sample. Tools, adjust size, turn that off. 1024 by 768, and go OK. There we go. Now that we've done all that, we actually have everything ticked off except for one last little bit. But in terms of graphics, we're all good. We've got our book file, we've got our PDF, we've got our cover that's proportionally adjusted, our sample 1 and our sample 2. The last thing we need is a blurb, just a short few sentences to explain your book. Now, if you have a look in my folder here, the one from before, I've got a blurb. I called it blurb. It's just a pages document, and I've just got some text in there, and that's it. So a very short paragraph to describe your book, and saved in here. With your files, you'll end up with 6 files in total. And once they're done, we can take that folder and the whole thing can go up onto the iBooks store from there. Sounds good to me. Okay, good luck, and we'll see how we go.